something you say that's quite inspirational.
Yeah.
Snip that.
Okay.
And say, right, that's the bit you want to
Nice.
go out.
Nice.
You know, that's the beauty of that.
Camera's recording, but it can be edited out, so it's fine. So we want that.
You almost need it on something a little bit higher, do you think?
Yeah.
It can go a bit higher.
Like, yeah.
No, it can't. Yeah. No, it can't. This is just so people can watch along.
Yeah.
Careful, watch.
That doesn't really matter. That's in the shot. It's that's not in the shot. So. Happy?
Yeah.
Have you got your drinks and stuff?
No,
Lauren's got hers. This is the nerve-wracking bit when you go live.
Do you know how nervous I used to be in doing interviews and stuff like when I first started? Honestly, I'd have meltdowns.
Yeah. But like me,
Couldn't sleep
this
the night
morning, I
before.
didn't want to do it this morning. I was like, I don't want to do it.
It's horrendous. But the more you do, the better you get.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, for real.
Phone on silent, yeah?
You are?
Silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay, so people are joining now.
It's a bit cosy here, brother.
Yeah, just trying to get us both in the shot.
You come in there, mate.
Lauren, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
And appearing on our podcast today because, one, I've always wanted to meet you. I live in Letchworth and I've heard lots about you and I've seen you about, but I've never actually had the opportunity to talk to you, so this is great to be able to do this podcast today. It's going to might be emotional for you because it's your life and not ours, so I just apologise for that now.
Yeah.
So we're going to start by going into your childhood. We're going to dive straight in. And I'd really like to know the people in your life that made you the person you are today. I'd really like to learn about them first.
Yeah.
And then we learn about the rest of you later. Is that right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So where did you grow up is my first question.
So I grew up in Letchworth, born and bred in Letchworth. Fantastic little town, as you can probably agree. I love it, it's good. Yeah. I grew up there. Fantastic childhood, really. I don't know really what to say about it in terms of, it was great. You know, I've got a great supportive family. My mum and dad, grew up with them in a loving family with my brother as well, Mitchell. And yeah, I think it's hard to say too much about it really because it was just good.
What school did you go to?
So I went to Radburn Junior School, which is now Garden City. Yeah, it was crazy. Do you know what? My friend Zara, she's a dance teacher and she was doing some dance teaching there not so long ago, and she was finishing up her session and she goes, do you want to come and meet me from work? So I said, yeah. And then I was like, can I have a little look around the school? It's so crazy when you go back and you look at things. And even I remember the main school hall being massive. Yeah. And then you go back and you're like, wow, it's tiny.
You always had to step down.
That's it, you step down.
We used to dance around the maypole.
Yeah.
It was honestly, because I had to go back there through work and pick up like a stage that was there through the curtains.
Right.
And I didn't realise how the drop, I
Yeah.
just totally forgotten about that. But
Yeah.
then brought it back to me. That drop, it was like, wow.
Yeah,
You know,
so
being
many
back there
memories.
Yeah,
it was great and it's not changed at all. So that was quite a nice little memory to go back there because, yeah, it's your childhood. It's where you meet all your friends and, you know, most of your memories are made there and stuff and your friends going forward in life, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it was
What about secondary school? Where did you end up after primary school?
So after primary school, I went to Knights Templar, which was Baldock. It was, I'm one of those, if they ever said, do you want to go back to school? The answer would probably be no, because a lot of people, they always go, if I could go back to school, I would do it in a heartbeat. And yeah, I did like it, and I had good friends, but I don't know, it was just, school was a strange one, and school in a way, kind of, I think some of my anxieties that I've had going forward in life actually come from school. Even though I got on fine, like I wasn't unpopular, I wasn't overly popular, I was kind of the girl in the middle. And yeah, I don't know, I think a lot of the ways that schools are run and they put pressure on you and they expect a lot from you, you know, has gained a lot of, that's what made me get quite anxious about certain things. So, and I've kind of carried that through into my career and life. But yeah, boxing has really helped with that, which we could probably go into. But no, school was okay. I had a good amount of friends that I got on well with. I was good at my sports. I was getting involved with that sort of thing, and yeah, I done well at school. You know, I knuckled down and got what I needed to do, and I went to uni and things like that, which was good. But I always knew that my heart lied in boxing. So although I could have gone off in different career paths, I've always been brought back to boxing because I kind of feel that's where I belong. That's what I was kind of, sounds crazy to say, but like born to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I excel. That's where I'm good at. That's what boxing makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So.
Even the training?
Yeah, even the training. I live for the training. Like no matter how hard the training is, it's, I don't know, I think with the training side of things, it's teaching you something each and every day. Yeah. You know, getting up and the battle sometimes, you know. If you're looking in on an athlete, it's like, yeah, no, they've got it good, they're training, blah, 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 but training's hard. And when you do it as part of a training camp or you've got big things that you're aiming for, it's not easy. Like day-to-day is not easy. There's been times where I've put off a session all day long and it's got to 9 o'clock at night and that session has to be done. I've been in the gym and cried before because I don't want to do it, but it has to be done. So yeah, even though it's hard, I love it, and I love that. How much can you test me, you know? And I love that, and I think, yeah, that's always brought me back. And they never did that at school.
Okay, I was just going to go back to school a little bit, because obviously a lot of the people, I'm not sure if you've seen, but a lot of the people we've spoken to on the podcast have all had, I wouldn't say issues, but a lot of their later issues in adulthood, some of the people obviously we spoke to, said it stemmed from school.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that you still, even though your school life was okay,
it was good,
and your home life was okay, you still had moments of anxiety. So I just went on a massive rant. My daughter's just done her SATs,
right?
And I think 10. I'm so against. I think it's horrific.
Yeah.
What they do to children, where the position they put a 10-year-old child in. And pressure they put on them at 10, and say to them, if you don't pass this, if you don't do this,
you ain't going nowhere in life. Yeah,
you ain't going nowhere.
It's terrible.
You told me what I wanted to do when I was 10.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't want to go off on that, you know, because I keep getting told off. But when you say school, I really struggle with it at the moment. Yeah,
schools are, I don't know, they can be very, very good places. There's a lot of positive things that can come from school, but I equally think that there are a lot of negatives that can be buried early within you, and it can live with you a long time. And until you start getting life experience and ways of managing that, that's when it gets better. But for some people that doesn't happen, because then they're not confident enough to go out and try these things or to try and better themselves. So they live within themselves, and it can be a nasty place. It can be a really horrible place to be, you know. And equally, setting yourself those targets and going out and trying to better yourself, that's equally a very tough place to be. Challenges that you have to try and overcome, even when you're not comfortable. But if you can do it, it's so good for you. And I think we'll talk about it, but boxing is one of those things that's really helped me with that. Because if you look back at how I was when I was a youngster to how I was now, completely different. Like if you'd asked me to do this podcast probably 8 years ago, I probably would have had a panic attack. Because I'm like, oh my God, cameras on me. Almost feels a bit like, you know, imposter syndrome. It's like, you deserve to be there. You deserve to be having this chat right now. But equally inside, you kind of feel like, oh my God, like, but it's just me. I can't be sitting there and have the cameras on me. Like, I'm just a Letchworth girl. Like, I don't deserve that. And a lot, I don't really know where that's coming from. I would say maybe school, like being put on the spot, the pressure and things like that. So yeah, there have been challenges, but I guess it's how it makes you who you are now. And how you deal with it.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and say school. Everyone, you know, school, the environment, we obviously need it, and the whole process of it.
Of course,
you know, and there's great teachers out there.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Fantastic.
I had, especially at Radburn, when we go back to, I had a great teacher there, a lady, Miss Thomas, I think her name was, and I still remember her now. And you're talking over 40 years ago.
Exactly.
So she had a massive influence on me. So there is great teachers out there.
I would agree.
But like you say, there is unfortunately a bit of a toxic trait there as well. You bring social media into it.
Yeah, I think it's worse. And going back in the day, we didn't really have that.
No.
Social media, which is crazy because I think if there was social media around back then, like how would that have affected me back then? I can see what it's doing to kids now. You know, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Again, good points, but a lot of dangerous things can come from it, and it's sad, you know. But I think we're so far into it now, there's kind of no way out. It's just how you manage it, how parents manage it with their children, and, you know, kind of installing that early on. You know, don't get wrapped up by it. What you see is not necessarily real. Because I think, again, a lot of anxieties come from that. Expectations. I need to be looking like that. I need to be, you know, I need to come across this way. You know, I just think be yourself, be you, and you'll go far if you just stick with that.
And that's exactly what we're trying to get across, and that's what we're trying to achieve with your help and everyone else's on this podcast. That isn't necessarily real life. You know,
no, it's not.
A made film life. It is another episode of like on the telly, effectively. You know,
See, the thing is, like, social media is a platform for that individual. You're not going to necessarily put out your down days. I mean, there will be people that will to create awareness, but most of the people are going to be posting their best material, which isn't necessarily true. You know, I remember one occasion, right? Went to a party one time, and we were there, and a bunch of girls were sitting there, and they all were sat looking miserable as sin. Next thing, they've all got up for this photograph, and they're all like, lovely, you know, put the smile on and the pose up, and then they went back to being completely themselves, which wasn't, they weren't even engaging in the party. But that photo would have gone on social media as like, oh, look at me, living my best life, when really, no, you're not. No. You know, so I think you can't take it too seriously. And that's, I think,
obviously I've got young children, you know, and I see the impact that their phones and social media has on them, you know, even my 5-year-olds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the problem is, again, it's brought into in school, so obviously they're allowed to take, when I went to school, you know, obviously there was no phones, but later on they started coming in. You weren't even allowed. Like my 21-year-old, there was no phones. You weren't even allowed to take them.
Yep.
Now you can take them, you can put them into the locker, you're allowed to have them as soon as you finish. So they do start integrating it at school. So again, they're not being protected there either. Yeah. It's literally been, well, it's okay to have them, do you know what I mean? And then suddenly their world is open to a world of social media.
Crazy world. I know, this is the thing.
So my next question would be, you're quite a sporty person, obviously, being in the boxing industry, but at school at Knights Templar, I also am aware that they're big on sport there at Knights Templar. They thrive on, that's why they built the gym and all the rest of the grounds.
They're now a sports academy, they've had that status.
So was you quite sporty back then? Did you do a lot of running or any physical activity?
Yeah, I used to get involved in terms of, you had your set lessons that you go to, and I always done well. You know, I was kind of like a standout student. I knew that I was sporty. I knew I could, you know, put in a good performance, whatever we was doing. But when it comes to the teachers saying, oh, Lauren, like, we want you to join the team. Like, we think you're really, really good. Like, would you join the team? The answer would be no. It would be weird. I would just, no. If my friends weren't doing it, then Lauren weren't doing it. And again, I guess that comes from just an anxiety point of view. And I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't feel, I don't know, just comfortable on my own doing things. I needed that, like, comfort blanket of familiar faces or familiar things, and stepping outside my comfort zone and doing that, it just wasn't for me. And I literally, we'd do parents' evening, and the teacher would be like, oh, Lauren's so good. To my mum, like, can you please have a word with her? To the point where my mum would talk to me. She's always got a very good way of turning things around and making me say yes, even if I don't want to do it. And she would make me do that. And I would, and I'd put myself in those situations, but it never lasted long. Yeah. So I'd go along and I'd do a few things, and like, oh, I'm done now. The amount of things that I got involved in, and after a couple of sessions, I'm done. You know, boxing's the only thing that's ever stuck.
Okay, so that's so boxing obviously is a singular sport. Obviously you've got a team around you, but actually at that moment it's you versus
it's me.
Your
really,
yeah. So, but the school stuff is a lot of a team environment. Do you think that was something to do?
Yeah, I think
it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's strange. I think you hear things where depending on your situation, you will change as a person. And I think that I'm very much like that. That if I'm around a bunch of all my friends, then I can be the most outgoing person and we can have a laugh, and I could potentially make myself centre of attention if I wanted to. But then you take me out of that with a bunch of people, say like we do a course somewhere, I could be the one that would sit back and don't say too much. So it all depends on my environment of how I will react and how comfortable I feel. Will depend what Lauren you kind of get. Okay. And I think maybe again that links in with school as well. And I've kind of took that on. I was like, I don't want to join the girls' football team because don't suit me. So then when I go into real life and you have to do this, it's like, it's not really my place. It's not where I feel comfortable. So I'm just gonna sit back. Yeah.
I think we can all relate to that, can't we?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We all have situations where we're both involved in football, and I get anxiety sometimes going into certain situations at football, and I feel a bit out of place and blah blah blah. So it's a little bit similar.
It is similar.
I sit back and kind of observe rather than be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like being behind the camera.
Yeah. I think it would be quite a good idea to try and normalise that. Whereas I think sometimes we sit back and think, I feel this way, it's not normal. Why am I feeling like this? Everybody else is getting on and doing fine, but I feel like this and I'm abnormal for feeling like that. But actually, like you've just said, a lot of people feel exactly the same way, and it's just a normal thing.
That's what we're trying to get. It's okay to have them.
It's okay to be like that. It's normal.
It is okay.
And I think we live in a society, again, going back to social media, you've got to be a certain way. You've got to be this outgoing person. And if you're not, then you're irrelevant. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah.
That's really, really sad.
Why do you have to be this someone on a pedestal to be relevant?
Exactly.
You can't just be Lauren or Shane or Adrian. That's okay. That's enough.
That's exactly
that.
Do you
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's enough.
That is enough.
It certainly is. But we're going to now come away from your upbringing and things like that, and we're gonna start looking at your career. So back with my research, we're here today at Stevenage Boxing Club.
Yep.
This is where you started your amateur journey.
Yep.
So it felt fitting when we were booking your podcast in, and we were talking about venues, and I was thinking, why don't we just do it in the ring at the place where she started her career? So we're here. You've left school, left Knights Templar. You're now 16 when you left school.
Yeah.
You did a couple of little waitressing jobs, did you, before that? And then you got into kickboxing first.
Yep.
That's the research I've done. That's correct, yeah?
That's correct, yeah.
So tell us about that journey there from leaving school and starting focusing on your sport that you.
It's funny when you ask me to go back, it's like trying to get the timeline of actually the events that happened. So I was obviously at school, did my GCSEs. After that, I had keen aspirations to be a PE teacher. That was my path in life. So to obviously do that, I'd have to go to uni. So I ended up staying on into sixth form until 18, and then did all my A-levels. And then after that, got accepted into uni. And again, Lauren doesn't like to go out of her comfort zone too much, so I decided to go to Bedford Uni so that I could commute to and from.
Right.
Throughout the whole sixth form process, I was 18 and I'd gone to a local kickboxing show. And it was funny because when I was 13, my dad took me to the same promoter's show when I was 13 to watch a kickboxing show. And then when I was 18, I'd gone to another one, realising it was the same promoter that was doing it. So I was like, oh God, I've been here before. I'm kind of familiar with that. I know these people. And so I'd gone to this show and I thought, I need to do that. I need to give that a go. There's something that's just sparked up in me that I feel like I need to do that. So whilst I was I was in sixth form, yes. So I'd approached one of the girls who had boxed that night and I said, how do I do this? So I ended up going along to do my kickboxing and I was loving that. I was only going a couple of times a week really, and I was doing that alongside my A-levels, and that was all running lovely, smoothly, really, really enjoying that. And then whatever age it was, got accepted into Bedford Uni, decided that's the path that I want to take. and I could commute back so that I could still do my kickboxing training, because that's where my heart was. That's what I loved doing at the time, and I am not prepared to sacrifice that because I've made new connections, new friends, and that's what was pulling me in. So I did the kickboxing for a couple of years. And then one of my friends was a boxer, and he said, Lauren, like, you're doing kickboxing. Like, I think you should do boxing, you know, because there's so much more to boxing than kickboxing. You're going to have so many more avenues. Why don't you come down, Stevenage Boxing Club? I'll introduce you to a few people down there, and I reckon that you'll like it. And I was like, no, like, I'm not really keen on doing that. You know, kickboxing is where I've kind of started it. That's what I know, that's what I love. And he pulled me through that door, and we walked in here. And in fact, that ring wasn't there at the time. It was like, there's loads of cardio kit and stuff in there. And I just got in the corner, kind of like hid, and I was just like watching. And then Glenn, Jeff Glencross, sorry, who's unfortunately no longer here. His picture's up there. Yeah. He,
phrase there he's got.
Yeah, in loving memory, bless him. But he was like the main man at the club. And I'd come in and I'd started doing a little bit of shadow boxing, and he'd gone, that girl's all right, she is. Next thing, within, I think it was the next session, they had me in this ring sparring, and they'd never seen me like do stuff before or where I'd come from, and they obviously had that faith in me like right from the outset. So that was really good, and I know even now with what I do and all the training and things and the coaching, you wouldn't get someone in a boxing ring like until you've worked them out, what are they capable of, because it's dangerous, you know. But you obviously thought, this girl's got something, let's test her out. So I've got in, I've done it, and do you know what? Ever since that moment, I just fell in love with it. And at the time as well, there was a guy here called Paul Day, and he was my main amateur coach throughout my whole amateur career. And we got on like a house on fire. It was fantastic. And we kind of worked through the career, you know, taking on different fights and stuff. I wasn't an overactive amateur. I only had 20 fights. Like when you look at some boxers, they're like 150 deep.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's crazy. So I only had a small amateur career. But, you know, I was pushing on. I felt like I could really do well in this. And also you had like England talent pathways that you can go in. You can, you know, go on this thing and that thing. And you can then go and train at Sheffield, where the main training base is for GB and stuff. So I did all of those because I was like, I'm keen. I know I can do it. I know I can do it. And no one ever really locked onto me, which was a shame. But I kind of used it as that determination. I'm not going to let you beat me. I'm gonna prove that I can do it, you know. And then, so that was kind of the amateur career. But in that time, I think maybe 3 years into my amateur career, there was a guy who walked through the door, and his name was Paul Webber. And I remember him coming down with his son. And he brought his son, and his son was like the real deal, you know. I was like, oh, who's this guy? Let's check him out, sort of thing. And he'd won so many things as an amateur. And I was kind of like in admiration of him, watching him shadowboxing, moving, doing all the circuits. I was like, yeah, this geezer's good. And I remember, and I talked to Paul now, who's my actual coach, and I was like, I didn't like you when you first come here. Like, honestly, you come in, and I was like, don't know how to take that guy, because he was quite stony-faced. And even now, he's stony until he gets to know you. And then you can't shut him up. He's like different character. So he come along, put his mark on us all, and he got involved, and you know, him and his wife would do things like, okay, what box cups are on, what things can we get involved in? And that's when he got me involved with the Haringey Box Cup, which I didn't really know too much about.
That was in 2015, yeah?
That was 2015, so we got involved in Haringey Box Cup, and I won that. So I think after winning that, my career then kind of lifted from that point.
Okay.
So
So you've gone through quite an extensive amount there. There's a lot of people that obviously you've mentioned that supported you. Yeah. But one thing I picked up on was at 13, my dad took me to my first kickbox.
Yeah.
So obviously the family environment was that. When you say he took you to first kickbox, was your dad interested in kickboxing? You know, how did that all
How did that happen?
Yeah,
so basically, my dad's partner at the time worked with a guy who did kickboxing, and I guess that the whole kickboxing scene works the same as boxing. Yeah. That you have to sell a ticket to be able to box, and you know you need your support. So the question arose, like, do you want to go and watch this guy kickbox, and at the time I was like, oh, I don't know. If you want, I'm 13. Oh yeah, I'll do whatever. You know, I wasn't even interested in boxing. Didn't even really know much about it, kickboxing. And so yeah, we went along, and it was Stevenage Leisure Centre. And I think there was, Gordon Craig. There was a good crowd. I remember that night, and I just remember sitting on the barrier like that, looking, and the girls were competing, and it's something that you didn't really see, like women in such a male dominated. That's the word, dominated environment. And I was just like, wow, like you're doing that. That's amazing. And that's, I guess, when the seed was kind of sown, really.
So you've got your dad to thank for that initial taking you there,
I think
13 years old.
That's where it started.
He was the one who planted that seed for the tree to grow.
Yeah, even though he would probably admit that definitely wasn't the plan. Yeah. Like, he never thought that I would go off and do kickboxing. But he's the one that really, put me there.
Sorry, Adrian. I was just about to say that, you know, obviously I've done a bit of research. Your dad wasn't wanting you to box or get into kickboxing, was he?
No.
Obviously, as a dad myself, and Adrian's a dad, I've got a girl, Adrian's got girls. I can understand that. I can understand him. Yeah. But even so, he first planted that seed. He took you to that kickboxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so.
Did he? So eventually, obviously, you know, he's obviously all parents support as much as they can. We know that, but obviously, there's that little side of him of, I want my daughter boxing. Yeah. So how did you work that dynamic between yourselves then? How was that approach? Was it okay, you know, at first, or was he just fully, look, not sure, but I'll support you, or was it, I'm not sure about this? Do you know what I mean?
When obviously I started the kickboxing, I'd do a set amount of training, and then it got to the point where, okay, you can do a gym show, and that's kind of what we did. There were gym club shows, like you could do a gym show here, like an in-house thing. So we'd do the show, or we'd travel to wherever it was, but it was only a very small time within a gym, and I was like, Dad, I'm doing this, like I'm going to do it, and I remember him going, I'll support you, but I don't really want to see my daughter take punches. Like as much as I love you, I don't think I can witness it. And that was his kind of response to that. But I did it anyway. And my mum was there, and she'd come along. And I don't really know how she felt back there, and I can't really think. But she was just. I don't know if it was like, well, someone's got to support her. Someone's got to be there for her. Like, I'll do it. So she took the role of that.
Do you think that initial, your determination to do this, whatever line of sport it was, do you think, is there a link between school and that? Because you say at school you were a little bit hesitant, you weren't quite sure, but then all of a sudden there's a click where it's like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, where's that sort of come from?
I don't know where it comes from, but I think it's because it's all about you. Yeah. It's nobody else. Like, you're not... When you think about boxing, and this is something that I've learned very recently, it's all about you. Like, even though there's so many people involved, it boils down to you and you only, and no one else cares. So I think I honed in on that, thinking, well, I'm just doing this for me. I don't have to impress anybody. Yeah. Even though I felt like I needed to impress someone, but ultimately it come down to me. I'm the only one that can make this work. You know, when you're in there in the ring with somebody else, no one's in there with you.
You're your own creator. I've heard that phrase. Yeah. So if you want to create your world that you want to live in, then it's down to you to do that, and nobody else can.
Exactly.
That's what I've learned.
There's such a relevance of whether you're being successful, whether you're recovering from addiction or from bipolar or mental health. You always at that moment, like obviously when I came off the drink, which is 14 years ago now, you have to be selfish. You have to cut everything that you feel at that time. Now, obviously there's different outcomes. You're going for a different path, but the main element of that is you have to just hone yourself. Yeah. I cannot think of my friends. I cannot think of my family at the time. It was, you know, I literally had to take myself away and put myself first. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's the same principle, but just different ways.
Exactly the same, And I guess I felt the fact that this is all about me, nobody else, although it was scary because I'm putting myself out there, no other factors were making me anxious. It was like, this is just me. It's me and me only. And it's a way of proving myself. I can't explain what I'm trying to say. The outcome of it and the reward you get from boxing is so, I don't know, it builds so much confidence, and the way you feel as a person, it builds you up as a person, and you become more resilient. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And
I suppose it releases endorphins inside you, and it basically gives you that get up and go and that buzz to succeed and the want to succeed.
And what you get off of the back of it, like the respect. I think respect from boxing is a major thing, and I think that, not that I've ever thought, oh, everybody should respect me. Never, ever. But the fact that it does bring respect kind of made me feel like, actually, I am maybe like important. Like people do actually tune in and care about me, or do think, actually, Lauren's good at that. Whereas at school, I'd always be, oh, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. Yeah. You know, so I kind of...
we go back to school.
Go back to school. Everything, I swear to God, it stems from school. Even though it was good, even though school was okay, a lot of things come from school.
100%. And again, it's that feeling of I am something. I am
something.
Something. And again, from anyone that's got mental health issues or grieving or trauma from childhood, anything like that, is you are something.
I am.
Are.
Yeah.
You know, whatever we're trying to achieve, whether it be top level, high level sport or a participation sport, or whether it literally is waking up in the morning and having a goal in life of living another day, it literally is all about that.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, everything stems from.
Yeah, of course. So, as an amateur, you got the win, the big win in 2015. That then is
big box cup.
Yeah, so that is like known to be one of the biggest things that you could win as an amateur. So that winning that must have set your target even higher and gone, right, that's it, I'm going to go pro and I'm going to go and see what else I can win.
Was that link straight away, I'm going to go pro?
No, there's a reason why I went pro.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But...
Okay.
What do you want me to... Yeah.
That's, if that reason's okay, talk about this.
Yeah, I can talk about the reason. No, the reason's fine. So winning Haringey Box Cup was, oh my God, unreal. Because up to that point, I'd been doing bits before. I'd gone to different, talent camps. I'd travelled all around the country. I'd got involved in things. And I'm trying to prove myself. And the door kept getting shut. And I'm like, I'm angry, but I'm like, no, like you've got to use this. I'm more determined. I've got to make this happen. So winning Haringey Box Cup was like, finally, it's paying off. Like, finally, I'm a champion and I'm good at something. Like, I'm proving I'm good at something. I'm actually getting results from this. So yeah, winning that was unreal.
Was that win knockout or points?
That was points.
Points?
Yeah, points.
So it was judged?
Yes, so it was
basically.
judged. Yeah, it was judged,
It's not nobody lying on the canvas.
No,
points
it was points, yeah.
And that can be brutal, can't it?
It can. And
also, you could disagree with it as well. And the audience can.
Yeah, you can disagree with it. It's down to a matter of what these people that sit around the ring think. Doesn't mean they're necessarily right or whatever, but so it can be tough when it's on point. Sometimes you need that clear, decisive win. Just knock them straight out would be the best scenario. But yeah, it was great to be part of that. And it was obviously a tournament, so you go one day, you go on the Saturday, and then I ended up boxing a girl. I think I gave her a standing 8 count in that. It was only 3 rounds as well, so you had to really make your mark quite quick because it's over before it's even started, So I did that, won that one, and then you go away and you come back the next day, and then obviously I'm in the final. So I only boxed twice, but both good fights, both energetic. We got stuck right in. But yeah, winning that was good. It made me feel like, oh my God, you are actually worthy of this. Like you can actually do this. And then after that, where did it go from there? I think we then re-entered the following year, and prior to doing that, I had snapped my nose on a bit of training kit called a spar bar, and it basically sticks to the wall, and you hit the bar and it spins, and you've got to move and whatever, And I remember getting so into it, and I was relaxing. The hands had dropped. I'd hit it real hard. Boom! It spun round, smacked my nose right there. I even looked at him and I was like, "Oh my God, my nose is cracked. It even looks wonky." Yeah. But I had a Harrogate Box Cup coming up again in like a couple of weeks' time. I'm thinking, "Oh my God, like this is something I've got to try and get over. You know, I've got this. It's hurting. You know." And anyway, we went along. We did it. And I remember boxing. It was a good girl that I was in with, some silver medalist. I think she was maybe Swedish or something like that. And it got to me in terms of I didn't perform because I was so conscious of getting hit on this nose that it's the pain, you know. So I fell short on that one, and I was like, damn it, you know. I think I just got a bronze in that one. But yeah, it wasn't.
Only just got a bronze. That's still an achievement.
Yeah, it's still an achievement. But
how did you feel after that then? Obviously, because you're the defending champion effectively.
Yeah.
You've got all that expectation.
Yeah.
That pressure.
Yeah.
How did you feel within that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back of how that made me feel. Yeah, gutted. I think it's just a sense of just gutted, and you've allowed something else. Yeah. To make you feel that way. You've got the capabilities of doing it, but something else has deterred you off of the path that you know you do best at. And when things happen like that, it's a shame because it's not really you in there. You've not got Lauren Parker at her best, you know. And I think that's a shame.
Worst critic.
We can all be our worst critic. So, but it was still good because we had other people competing, and a couple of them won gold and stuff, and it was great. So yeah, that was a really, really good time. And then after that, England boxing, amateur boxing, is sanctioned by England Boxing. So everything is all done under their umbrella. You have to follow protocol and stuff like that. But there were things that England Boxing were doing that I'm not too sure of the ins and outs, but other clubs and that were getting really pissed off with it. And they were like, we need change within this. Something needs to happen. So there was something called the Alliance Boxing that started up, their own sort of governing body. And it was like, well, you can choose now. Do you want to go to them or do you want to go to them? And a lot of people moved over to the Alliance, and our club was one of them. But England Boxing stayed there, and they were the main umbrella. But the Alliance Boxing were trying to come up and trying to be equal to them. But over time, it never really happened. So although this club were under Alliance Boxing, there was not many clubs in there, and you couldn't fight an England boxer. So there'd been a divide down the middle now. It was like, well, they're England and you're Alliance, and you can't box each other and you can't box in the same championship. So I'm like, well, England Boxing Championships are the most recognised thing. Yeah. If you can't box in there, what's the point of doing this?
Where am I going in?
Where am I going? And I remember being in there, I was training, and Jeff comes over, he goes, oh, Loz, we got we can enter you into the championships, but unfortunately, mate, there's no one for you to box because obviously Alliance and that. So it would just be a case of you stepping in the ring and them sort of raising your hand. I said, well, I'm not doing it then. What's the point of that? Yeah. I don't want to be a champion. What? Just because it's been handed to you on a plate? I've never been like that. I said I'd rather not have it, thanks. Yeah. So I declined that. And then in that time, it was like, oh well, what are we going to do then? Because the next best thing would be to go to Hoddesdon, to go to Repton, somewhere like Finchley, which is an hour's journey from Letchworth every time you want to do that, and they expect you down at their clubs 3-4 times a week. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to hold down my personal training business at the same time. I've got a full client base. It was stressing me out. I was so drained. And then the thought of travelling there and back an hour when this is on my doorstep, I was like, I need to look for another path, you know. So I thought, okay, what's the next best thing? So my coach Paul Day at the time said, why don't you go and speak to one of the martial arts guys? His name was Ollie. Basement, MMA or something, I can't remember what it's called now. And so I went down there, I thought, we're getting back into a bit of K1, bit of kickboxing. And I returned back and I was like, this ain't for me. I don't like this anymore. This isn't what I want to do. So I spent a bit of time there, made up my mind. I'd come back, I'd spoke to Paul and Paul Webber, and I'm like, I'm just not happy with it. This is crap. And then Paul Webber said, well, why don't you think about turning over pro? His son had just turned over pro at the time, I think, if I'm correct, and he'd been signed with Matchroom, so Peter Sims at the time, the brother of Tony Sims, who was massive in the boxing world, and he just signed with those, and then that's what sparked the idea of, well, why don't you do it? And I thought, I have absolutely no idea about pro boxing. Is it even a thing for women? I didn't know any of them. You had all the big names all still competing in the amateur side of things, and I was like, oh, do you know what? Like, sod it. Like, there's nothing else for me, so let's just give this pro thing a go. So we did that, and then someone, a local guy again called Ashley, he messaged me and said, oh, why don't you speak to Mervyn Turner? He lives, he's like Luton, Bedford way. Why don't you speak to him? He's a manager, and, you know, get signed up with him maybe. I remember contacting him. He was straight down here within the next week, straight through the doors. He had the paperwork, watched me train, paperwork, signed it, done. You're a pro now. I was like, okay.
Just like that?
Just like that.
So that was the only stipulations as such, was it?
Yeah, literally, yeah. So he come through, he signed me up, but obviously there's a lot more that comes that you have to go and have an interview to be a professional boxer. You've got to go through so many things, get all your licensing, your medicals.
The same thing.
Medical. We can talk into this, but like your brain scans, everything, all your eyes done and stuff, and you have to pass them all, otherwise you can't do it.
It's a lot of pressure as well.
It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of money. So we done all that, went for my interview, got all signed over, and then that was basically the start of my pro career with Mervyn Turner for 3 years. Because when you sign into a contract, it's 3 years. Yeah. So I was like, well, let's just give it a go. Let's just see what it's... I didn't have any high expectations. I didn't even think about what I could win. I just thought, let's get out there and just test the water, and we'll go from there and see what happens. So that's kind of where the pro game started.
When you say your manager, and that was, we spoke a little bit outside a minute ago, was about the sponsorship side and how it's not just about you and everything else around you that needs to all fall in line effectively. When you turned pro, you saying, I don't really know too much about it. Did you actually understand the amount of work that probably you were going to have to, not just in the gym, like outside of the gym, that you were going to have to put in to be a pro effectively? Not a clue.
Not a clue. I just dived straight in, gone, let's do it. And then I've literally learnt along the way. Even to this day, I'm still learning about things. I've got a much better idea of how things work. I've been through... Yeah, exactly. I've been through so many scenarios, again, which we can touch on, that I'm like, wow, you know, you see different sides of the sport, what things mean, that sort of stuff. But again, it takes experience to gain it, you know. So yeah, it's a mad sport, and a lot of things go on that like you wouldn't even believe, you know. Okay. But it's all learning. And
and surrounding yourself with good people as well.
Yeah, that's it.
So you turned pro in 2017. You did 3-year contracts. So that brought you to 2020. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what happened in 2020. Yeah. How did that affect? How did the pandemic affect you, your fitness, your career? Mm-hmm. Did it? So that's my question: did it affect your career? How?
So I think up to 2020, I think I'd had 6 fights as a pro. Done okay, 1 loss and 1 draw within that, so 4 wins. Then the pandemic hit, and I remember my coach Paul Day at the time. He was kind of like, we're not training. Like, we can't, even though we're pros, but he was like, we can't see each other. And again, there was a lot going on that we didn't really understand. So it was like, should we be together? Should we not? Like, everyone was kind of... Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we can all laugh about the whole situation right now. You know, that's another podcast. But if we just go back to how we all felt at the time, we were all a bit like unaware of what was going on. You know, a bit scary. You trust people. Exactly. So we were kind of like, no, I think we should just not see each other. So I think we didn't see each other. I think it was about 6 weeks, like we'd literally not seen each other.
Not even on Zoom?
No.
During COVID, everyone was on Zoom?
We didn't even do that.
I took my first football job, a manager, and my first talk with my players was via Zoom.
Really?
Didn't get to train with them for all that time.
Yeah.
The first time I spoke to them and we even spoke about anything was on Zoom.
It's crazy. It was a mad world back then. So I hadn't seen anybody, both my coaches, because they were both working together at the same time. I hadn't seen them for this set amount of time. I can't remember how long it was now. And then, so I was doing some bits of training on my own. And then my coach, Paul Webber, he had a medical issue. So he was out training one day, and something happened, and he felt something go in his neck, and it like cracked. And he was like, "Oh, that's really sore." Carried on training as you do, and then the next day, or again, however long this took to develop, a couple of days, he was like, "My neck's really hurting, like really hurting." And as time went, it got worse, to the point where he was then decided to take himself to the hospital, went to the hospital and they looked at him, done x-rays, and then within that time of him turning up at the hospital, they said, we've prepared surgery for you, we were going to be going down in the next hour. He was like, what? I've just turned up for an appointment just for you to check me out. They were like, no, Mr. Webber, if you don't have this done now, then you may not be alive tomorrow. So everything was, oh my God, it was an awful time. We was thought, oh my God, are we going to lose him? Like, what's going on? One of his discs has basically crumbled, and then he'd got infection, and he was in the worst pain ever. He nearly lost his life. It was really bad. So we were also going through that. So we all kind of become a little bit relaxed about things, thinking, do you know what, there's more in life that matters than training and all of this. So we were always checking in with one another. And then he made a recovery, and he was good to go. And then he said, Loz, well, we can still train. We're professionals. Like the government have said, like, well, you can still train if you're a professional. Why not? So he's like, right, well, come over to me. He lives in Essex. So we went over to him and we'd get involved in some training. To be fair, I was seeing so much of him and I progressed so much in that time. It was unreal. Like, he had structured all my strength and conditioning. He was then doing all my technical boxing with me. He's not a mindset coach, but he's got ways of talking to me that can just, I don't know, I can turn up miserable and I'll leave like laughing. Like, he can just turn me around real quick. And we just created this really, really great bond. So COVID affected a lot of people, but for me, I think it was the complete changing point of my career. It completely went off in a different direction. I changed completely as a person. My mindset changed. My whole ability as a boxer changed. I started doing things in sparring and stuff that I would never have done before. And I just genuinely just started believing in my whole self way more than ever before. So yeah, there was a lot of positives out of that negative situation for me. So in answer to your question, like, it was a good thing, not a bad thing.
Apart from him becoming ill in the first place.
Apart from him becoming poorly.
Obviously he made a full recovery, but...
Of course, he made a full recovery. It took a while, but after he got through that, there was a lot of goodness that did come from it. And like, we are best of friends now. We've got such a good relationship, and he calls me every day. You know, he's checking in on me. I couldn't ask for a better coach. It's crazy. Unfortunately, I don't speak to the other one anymore. There was a few things that had gone on, and you know, he couldn't commit to the boxing side of things anymore, and we parted ways with him. And it happens in boxing, you know, sometimes, you know.
In any sport.
In any sport.
Yeah. Any sport.
Yeah.
I suppose any way of life, even a day-to-day job. Sometimes you outgrow jobs.
Exactly.
You know, you move on and go for a different job. It's just, unfortunately, that's life.
Yeah, that was quite a hard time for me, because he was kind of the one at the beginning that took me under his wing from day one. He was the one that I felt really believed in me from the beginning, and I'm like, coaches that do this in here do this all voluntary. There's no money in amateur boxing. So for someone to take me under their wing like that and really pay attention to me, I was like, this man is amazing. And I would never have anyone talk bad of him, you know, and not that they did, but if anyone said anything, I'd be like, no, he's the main man, you know. And we did have a good bond, and you know, I felt like this is where I am, this is my home, we're a really good unit, things are coming together. So when he decided that he couldn't do it anymore and he was gonna drift off, it was tough. It was really, really tough. But what had helped is that time during COVID, where I'd spent so much time with Paul Webber, I was like, I've made so much progress there as well that I can't get too upset, because look what you're now doing. Look what you're achieving. Look who you've become as a person. Like, this isn't negative. Look at the positive side of this, you know?
And maybe him as well, you know, like you say, done such good things for you at that moment, maybe to go your separate ways. And maybe that's what he needed in his part of his path and his journey, was that as well.
Exactly.
So it could be that both of you have ended up, it weren't nice at the time, but it probably what both of you made.
Things happen for reasons, and I'm very, very hot on that. So yeah, and then obviously, like, I am now full-time I still work, but I'm full-time in terms of boxing with Paul Webber, and I train in Essex. So all my sparring and stuff will be done in Essex. I will meet him a couple of times a week, and then on a Saturday I'll go and meet him, do all my strength and conditioning and then my technical stuff. But a lot of the time he'll structure all my work for me, and I actually train on my own, which is a lot of athletes don't do. You know, I'm on my own a lot of the time. No, I've got a place at my house, so yeah, I've got like a little setup, which is perfect, really. And yeah, he sets me what I've got to do, and I think that is what makes me a little different to the rest. Is that to do something on your own at that high intensity and get it done, and be like feel accomplished that you've done that at a good level. I think that really helps with boxing, because when you're in there and you're fighting someone else, it's only you in there, no one else. So if you can train yourself and push yourself to those levels on your own, I think that's such good ingredients, you know, for this sport. Yeah.
So we've touched on the amateur win, the big amateur win, which made you want to go further in your career in the end. So your first major win at professional level was in 2022. You won the IBO Intercontinental.
Yes.
The anxiety pre-fight, like before the fight.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? It was such a big occasion, something that if you won, you could walk away with that title, which you did, luckily. But how was your anxiety stepping into that ring that day?
Yeah, so this was a tough one. So I'd changed managements from Mervyn, and there was a new organisation, a new promoter that was, you know, on the scene, and she was a female promoter, so it was really nice to be part of that. Her name was Susanna Schofield, and her company was basically Unified Boxing Promotions. And my manager had done the talks behind the scenes, and he said, "Lauren, I think this could be really good for you. They've got good sites. They're going to have TV linked to their promotion, and it just could be a really good next step for you." So I was like, oh my God, like this is massive. Like we've gone from doing things at Bedford Corn Exchange, behind the scenes, me selling 30 tickets, hardly no one being there, to now, okay, this is big, TV's going to be involved, and cameras as well. I was never used to anyone putting a camera in my face. So when it all kicked off, I was like, in fact, actually, I remember the phone call. I was teaching a client, because I do PT work, and Paul phoned me, and I put him on mute, because I'm like, I can ring you later. And the next thing he rings again. I'm like, yes, Paul, what's the matter? And he goes, Loz, I can't believe it. Like, you've got this deal, like with Unified, and it's all going to be on TV, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and honestly, I was like, oh my God, I ended up crying. I was so emotional, because I was thinking, oh my God, this is so good for me. Like, I can't believe I'm actually finally getting a shot. I'm finally going to be on TV and be able to like show what I'm about. So that was really good. And I remember, the anxiety was there, and I was thinking, oh my God, like cameras, interviews, I'm not used to this. In fact, it was kind of awful inside. I was like, I don't even know if I can do it. But again, it's one of those things that once you do something enough, you just get better at it.
When you're in that position, when you say that there's the anxiety, like obviously in everyday life, but your different kind of anxiety, is the anxiety of letting yourself down, or do you actually take on everyone else's, like your dad's? You know, not that they expect you to win, but obviously they're going to support you, they want you to do well. So it's that feeling of, I've got my trainers, my management team, my family, people coming to watch that have paid money to come and watch. Is there that side of it where you put that pressure on yourself?
Added pressure,
as well?
Yeah, I think there is so many added pressures, and I think letting myself down, I don't want to look stupid the way I come across. Again, a little bit of that imposter syndrome. It's like, oh my God, I've actually got the opportunity to be here, but do I deserve to be here? And telling yourself, you do deserve to be here. I think I do constantly battle with that, especially when you see people at high level and these big names, and then you can see yourself just coming up, and you're like, oh, but hang on a minute, like, do I deserve to be there? You know, so I think that plays a major part in it, but also as well coming across well, and I think just coming across as a nice person. I want to come across as a nice person. I don't want to be big-headed in any way. I just want to just be me, really. I just want people to like me for me.
You've got a job to do, which is,
exactly.
at the end of the day, you're there to knock that opponent out.
Exactly.
But you also want to be a human being.
Yeah, I want to be nice, you know, and it's like...
I've got a job to do.
Yep.
But I am still Lauren.
Yeah, I'm still Lauren. So it's kind of trying to get that across. And in an interview situation, it's like, oh my God, cameras are on me. And it's almost like when you get that red light go on, it's like, oh my God, the camera's on, it's rolling. You know, you've got to get it right now. There's one chance, one shot at this. Don't say the wrong thing. But I don't know, like sometimes I think to myself, the added pressure, although it doesn't feel great internally, it's actually amazing for you. Because I remember it was the first time that I boxed under Unified Promotions. It was on a channel called Sporty Stuff TV, which, to be honest, is small time. Like, no one really knows about it. but it was a platform, so you take anything. And I remember getting on there and everyone had, like, I'm going to tune in. I took about, I don't know, probably about 70 people up to Sheffield, which was really good. And I remember getting in that ring, and the first round, it was a bit chaotic. And the second round, I kind of sat into it, and I remember feinting with the left hand and throwing an overhand right and knocked her clean out. Well, she spun off of her feet straight onto the floor. To be fair to the girl, she got up, but then as soon as she got up, I just went in. I was like, right, this is it now, go, go, go. Yeah. And I remember one particular person said to me a little while back, but Lauren, have you got that spite? Have you got that within you? I don't know if you're aggressive enough. I was like, hell.
You just proved them wrong.
I was like, absolutely, I've got that. And that was a moment for me. I was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do have that. And I think that pressure is what really helped with that knockout.
Do you I wouldn't say battle with that, but do you talk with yourself of that side of, I have to be that person at that moment, and then I have to be...
Yeah.
But I don't want... Do you fight
it's tough.
With yourself
it is tough.
to have that killer instinct, effectively, for want of a better word?
Yeah.
And then come back and have a Sunday dinner with your mum and dad.
It's crazy.
Do you see what I mean?
It's crazy because if you get to know the real Lauren can actually sometimes, sorry, that fly you spoke about earlier is really lingering around here.
Wants to be on the podcast.
It wants to be on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah. So if you get to know the real Lauren can be quite shy. Again, I can bring myself back, but then again, I put myself in a sport that is very much out there. Like you have to put yourself on show. You're very much exposed, and
you're in the middle of a square ring
yeah.
with hundreds, sometimes thousands of people behind you.
It's tough.
It's got to be daunting.
It is very daunting, and we'll touch base on what I'm going to say next, but my most recent fight was the biggest platform that I've been on. First time I've ever done a press conference.
We're going to get to that one.
We will get to that.
One.
But in terms of how I felt like all along I just want to be me, but there's equally part of you which like, well, you've got to now play the game. You've got to be kind of marketable. Like, people like it when people throw chairs around and stuff like that. Like, I mean, to me, I look at it and go, oh, what? That's pathetic. But people do like it. Like, the public like it. It builds that.
Didn't Tyson come dressed as Batman to one?
All crazy things.
Ben Whittaker,
yeah.
Look at him. I watch him and I'm amazed by his skill, his movement and all that. But then you look and think,
it's just a bit silly.
Again, like you say, it sells.
Yeah, it does.
Don't get me wrong, he's I don't want to knock me out in the streets. He's a fantastic boxer.
Yeah, he is good.
He trains hard, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that bravado that he brings as well,
I don't know if I like it. So there is that fine line of, okay, well, I always want to be me, I never want to change, but equally, should I give a little bit more? But I'm not equally happy to give a bit more because then it's not me. And I don't want to come across as any sort of fake or, you know what I mean? I just think, no, the best way to be, just be yourself. I've always been like that, just be yourself. And I just want to be a good boxer. Almost like keep yourself behind the scenes, but you want to watch that Lauren, like when you get in there, she means business. Like, you know, you don't hear of her. It's a little bit like Katie Taylor, the Irish champion. You know, throughout her camps, you don't hear nothing from Katie Taylor, but look what she can do in the ring, and everybody loves her. And I'm like, why can't I be like that? Why do I have to put on this bravado or be something that I'm not? So I've always been like, no, be yourself, but also aware that people want more from you, which can be a bit tough sometimes.
So Lauren, you won the IBO, you're on top of the world. You know, you achieved something that you've set your goal for, you know, you wanted to fight, you did it, you won. Then something went on with your back, didn't it? And you had to have some surgery.
Yes.
So that obviously meant taking time out of training, taking time out of the sport that you've grown to love. How was that? Like, you know, you've had spinal surgery, it's serious. It's not having your wisdom tooth taken out or nothing like that. This is something that could, if your recovery isn't right, set your career right back or even end it. So my question to you would be, you've had your operation, you're lying in the hospital bed. Was there a thought that crossed your mind that you'll never box again?
There was, but I knew that if I didn't have that surgery done, then I probably wouldn't box anyway. So it was a matter of, what do you want? You know.
Was the surgery for boxing or for your personal health?
It was both, but boxing did play a massive role in that. You know, I've just won a title. I'm proving to myself constantly that, you are worthy of being there. What, you can't stop now? You can't stop now. What, you're gonna let that get in the way? You're gonna let that stop you? And that was one thing, because if we go back, so that IBO, I remember warming up for that in the changing room, and I just said to Paul, I said, I need to rest after this fight. Like, I really need to. I was bounced on the spot doing my skipping. The pain in my back was like bad. And then obviously adrenaline in the fight gets you through it. So I got through it. And then after I was like, I need to rest. So I took a week off, decided to get back into it after a week. And then I remember doing some bits in the gym, whatever I was doing. I was like, wow, that's still really bad. So obviously I then took myself to go and see various different people, get it looked at, got scans done. And basically they were like, your disc is really badly herniated, that if you don't get that sorted out and you carry on doing what you're doing, you could potentially... It will push so far into your spinal cord, it will paralyse you.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I was like, oh my goodness. So yes, the health side of it comes into it. I need to get this fixed for me. Yeah. But then also I'm like, you've just won a title. This can be fixed, you know, get it done. But equally at the same time, I'd never had an operation. When I say I was petrified, and this probably, if you've had operations, you probably have, it's a breeze, really. It's nothing. But I didn't know that.
Most of the time,
but I didn't know that at the time, because all the thoughts going through my head. Oh my God, you've never had an operation. What if you're allergic to anaesthetic? Like, what if you don't wake up? What if you wake up and you're paralysed? Like, oh my God, it was just awful. And I think I'd gone round. I probably drove everybody nuts at the time. Every person I spoke to, I was like, ever had an operation? And they were like, yeah. They'd tell me, and I'd be like, oh, now I feel a bit better now. And then, but to be honest, for about 4 months after that consultation and accepting that I'm going to have it done, sleepless nights, I'd cry myself to sleep. You know, I would be thinking about my career, like, is it over? It was actually a really awful time. But once I'd had it done, I was grateful to it all gone fine and it was good. But at the same time, I was in horrendous pain. It was awful. It didn't last too long, but I had to take a significant time out of boxing, but a decent six months out. But it was equally, it was a tough time as well mentally, because you're so in the mix with things, and then all of a sudden, you've been brought out of it, and you realise that no one's checked in on you. It feels like no one cares, you know. And to be fair, I'd never told anybody about my back injury until I'd won the title. Because I was like, no one needs to know about it.
If you told anybody, then that's a weakness in some respect, isn't it?
It's a weakness.
Fighters are strong.
Yeah, it's a weakness.
You don't show weakness.
I'd kind of lied to people, you know. When I got back in sparring, they're like, oh, where you been? I'd be like, oh, I just got a few issues with my back. It's just not been great or whatever. And I'd kind of brush it off. But you know, no one really checked in and just was asking how you are. When you're so in the mix all the time, you know.
When you've been so high, which is that moment where you
the highest of moments.
And then suddenly you're at, I wouldn't say that you don't want to over, but that's
no,
a nice place to be.
It wasn't a nice place,
And then you're down there, and again, that trying to bring that into life as well, that's how a lot of people get into trouble when they're struggling with mental health or struggling with addiction, is they're at the top. You know, some people I've spoken to are high-powered people with high-powered jobs. One guy runs a company. He can't tell any of his employees how he feels because he feels, oh, how can I be the one that feels that? Yeah. You know. Yeah. And it's so difficult to be so high and then so low and try and process them feelings.
Mad time,
you know?
Crazy time, in fact. But we did everything that we needed to do, and to be fair, I did get back to my training very lightly, of course, but I built back, and we'll go on to the next bit.
Do you know what? The way this podcast has gone, we've me and Adrian and everybody that's going to watch it has learned so much about your determination, your grit, and your warrior power, because it takes a special kind of person to get back up after being knocked down. Not necessarily talking about boxing, because you don't get knocked down very much.
Yeah, no, never, in fact.
So what I'm talking about is mentally. I mean, lots of us get knocked down all the time mentally, and we've got to pick ourselves back up. But I can imagine having spinal surgery and being a fighter, and you've got a determination, and we all know that now. You're light training, you're then basically building your training back up to normal routine.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing is you're readying yourself for the next opponent. So you set your sights after the win before, you've set your sights on the next win.
Yeah.
And that was the European title, wasn't it?
It was the European, yeah. Which is crazy because after that sort of thing, even if somebody was to lose a fight, you would normally go, well, let's have a tick-over fight next. Let's just, dust off some cobwebs, get back into it, and then we'll go for something big. No, not me. No, I got offered the shot for that, and I'm like, I've literally just had spinal surgery. I've not even done any sparring, but do you want to do it? And I said, oh my God, yeah, go for it. Just do it. I didn't even know if I could do it, to be quite honest with you, but I thought, just agree to it, and then we'll find out what happens along the way.
Sorry, Lorna, how long after the surgery, so you've obviously recovered, but how long, so from surgery to that fight, how long was the gap?
So I had the surgery on February 13th, and I didn't really do any training, or if I had, it was light training all the way through till, I think before I went on a holiday, which would have been the beginning of July. And just before I went away on holiday, that's when I got the phone call. So my manager phoned me and he said, Lauren, this opportunity's come up. In fact, actually, I think I'd been mandated for it. I might have been mandated for it, I'm not sure. And he was like, this is a good fight for you, and I think you should do it. And I was like, I've not even done anything. Like, pure panic kind of set in a little bit. But I knew how big the European title was. I was like, people in their boxing career would never even get that opportunity to box for a European title. That's crazy. I was like, okay, I just agreed to it. And then I went on my holiday and I started doing some training on my holiday, just ticking over, a bit of skipping and running and bits by the pool and stuff. And then I come back and then I started to hit a fight camp. By that point, I was feeling okay within myself. So I was in a good place.
At that point? Was it
my back was okay. Like, I'd been to various different appointments with the surgeon, and been to different appointments with the surgeon, and there was markers. He was like, no, you can't start running till then, you can't start punching till then. But when he had ticked it off and said, yeah, you can start punching again, and I started punching, I felt good. Then the trust element come in, like, actually, your body's repairing, the human body is fantastic, and you've done everything right up to this point. There's no reason why you can't start training properly. So I did, and we was in a building process, and that was really good. And then it was due to happen, I think it was September 2nd, something like that, which was the fight. She pulled out. Okay. She pulled out because of an injury, but it was just postponed. The girl that I was boxing had just boxed for the European, but she'd lost it. So she was then mandated again for it because the champion at the time had got rid of the belt to move on to maybe a world title. I think that's what she did. So the belt then became vacant. So obviously Josephina, who I was boxing, she just lost that fight. She then got first call on that, and then I got first call because I was sick. I think I was number 1 in the UK at the time. So that made sense. So we knew that fight was going to happen. Just when would it happen? It would have to be after September because she'd got an injury. Then it got pushed to, I think that was December 2nd, then I boxed for that, which in a way was like a godsend. I was like, a bit more time, this is good. And it all worked in my favour. Again, things happen for reasons. But if we just go back to that first phone call of getting that shot, this is when it was all crazy, and a thing that people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes with boxing is that, Lauren, we've got you that European title fight. The only problem is no promoter's going to want you. Like, no one's really interested in that fight. So in terms of Matchroom, Boxer on Sky Sports, Frank Warren, Queensberry, none of these big boys were interested in that fight. Even some other people, promoters that are kind of middle ground, they apparently weren't interested in it. So it was like, well, you can do the fight, but there's something now that I'm going to tell you, which you're probably not going to like, but you're going to need to raise a lot of money for this fight to make it happen. And I sat in the office and I was like, oh, okay, well, what sort of money are you thinking? And he did the maths of it all, and he was like, you're looking at about 20K. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, and you're going to need to get that in by X amount of date. We had 3 days. I had 3 days to do it in. Oh my God, I remember leaving the meeting. I was in the car. I was like phoning everybody. I was like, oh my God, do you know someone that can like help me sponsorship wise? I need to raise 20 grand, to do this fight. This is a massive thing in my career. If I don't do it now, or if I don't at least try, then do you know what? I'm never probably going to be able to box for anything like that. This could be my moment. I have to do it. What am I going to do to get that money? And I'd phone my mum, I'd phone my dad and other people, and they were like, leave it with me, we'll see. to be fair, in that moment, my mum was absolutely fantastic, bless her. She phoned around literally everybody that she knew, told them the situation, can you help? And I was gobsmacked by the amount of people that had come back and wanted to help me.
Yeah.
So
and I'm
your
so
mum to
grateful
thank for that one.
Yeah, I really do. She really went to town on it, and my mum is quite a well-known lady in Letchworth. She knows a lot of people, and yeah, the phone calls she'd made and the connections she's got throughout her whole life had really helped me with that. I couldn't have done it on my own.
Lauren, me and Adrian have been discussing our podcast, and we've been discussing that we need sponsorship. Can you give me your mum's number after?
Yeah, sure.
I'll get her to do some tapping up for me.
Yeah,
sounds like
it's a hard thing to do, but do you know what? You just got to ask. There's a lot of people out there that are really willing to help people that are doing good things, and it helps them for their own business. It's all tax deductible. Yeah. It's good. It's good. It puts their name out there and stuff, and a lot of people will be interested. You'll be quite surprised. So it's definitely just outright ask.
That's a great advert. I'm going to clip that one.
Yeah, just outright ask.
About them little
That's one of them. That's one of them. Sponsorship. Yeah.
But now, hearing what your mum has done for you with regards to sponsorship, that has made that fight happen.
Yes.
Without your mum's input and your friends and family and the businesses around you, there's no way in hell you would have got that 20 grand and you wouldn't have won that title.
No. I've got a lot to thank her for. She's a diamond.
You got your dad from 13 taking you to kickboxing, and now you've got your mum that's helped you raise 20 odd grand.
My dad as well, in terms of, he sponsors me, so he's JC Parker Glazing Solutions in Letchworth, and he's been a diamond along my journey. There was a time when actually he got a back injury and it put him out of action, but he used that time positively, and he would really help me out, and he'd drive me around the country to all my sparring. He was there at every single spar. It was fantastic, and it was a little, again, going back to the comfort blanket that I always want, and just having him there was amazing, and he helped me get through them spars. We'd have little pep talks on the way up there and stuff, and then even after the spar, he'd be like, oh yeah, you done really good in that, you caught him with this shot and that shot, and you should be really proud of yourself today, Loz. And it was nice. It allowed us to get a really good bond as well. Not that we've never had a good bond, but I live with my mum. Yeah, I live with my mum. My brother lived with my dad, and but we have got a really good relationship now, and we are such a really good family, and we support one another. But yeah, without them two, there's a lot of things that I couldn't do. A lot of things, and I'm very grateful for them both.
It's amazing. I definitely want to meet your mum.
Yeah,
definitely going to try and tap her
She's a nutter. She's a nutter.
We are nearly into 2025.
Yes.
2024 was just a tick-over year for you. I've never heard that phrase before. Can you explain to me and everybody that's going to watch this what a tick-over year is?
Yeah, so a tick-over year is like fights where you're just keeping busy, because sometimes in boxing, these big opportunities, they don't come very often. You've got to be in positions to box for titles, or you've got to be a worthy opponent. And sometimes it means getting yourself there, building your record to a point where a governing body will look and go, yeah, you're worthy of that, we'll give you a shot. So I'd obviously won 2 titles, and then there was nothing for me at that point. We really wanted to, I'm trying to think where this went after that. So I'd won the European, that was it. So the European belt is sanctioned by Italians. And they had basically, normally when you win a belt, you get a voluntary. You can pick who you want to box. And a lot of the time, people out of a pool of, say, 10 will pick probably the easiest opponent, and you'll defend it, and all hopefully will go well. I didn't have that. They, straight on, you're getting a mandatory. So I was made, they made, what was her name? Stephanie Silva, mandatory for my belt. And it meant, again, raising £20,000, because again, no promoter wanted to put me on for whatever reason. I didn't want to do it. Even after winning the belt, they still didn't want me. Or going to Italy. Now, I've been told by so many people, you don't want to go there, you don't want to go away from home because they sanction it, it's all going to be on their terms, and before the first bell, you're already down 3 rounds, and if you don't knock them out in their hometown, then you ain't coming home with that belt. 100%. So again, it was another risk that you take, and it's not that I don't believe in myself, it's like, do you really want to be up against it that much? What, to defend the belt? And I definitely don't want to raise 20 grand. Yeah, and I don't want to raise 20 grand again. Just to box at York Hall, which is a great venue, by the way, very iconic, but with no TV. Yeah. So you're getting no exposure. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. Yeah, yeah. So I ended up vacating the belt, which was a shame. You know, in fact, actually, again, I got upset about it because then other people were getting opportunities, and I'm like, that's my belt. Yeah, like, you were getting, it wasn't nice. But you move on, because my manager had said, Lauren, if we vacate this belt, what will happen is you will be made mandatory for the British and the Commonwealth, which Emma Dolan holds. So we just need to bide our time a little bit, and you will eventually get that shot. And it was me putting that trust in him and going, okay, well, if you definitely think that that's what's going to happen, then I'm prepared to. I'm prepared to do it, because I don't really want to raise the 20 grand again. And my mum, fair play to us, like, Loz, I'm not going through that stress again. We're not doing it. It made you quite ill, with the stress of it last time. It's too much. We're not doing it, and it's not fair. So that was out the question. So I was kind of like left with a bit of nothing, but I didn't want to have a whole year of not doing anything. So you do your tick-over fights. So you get opponents in that...
Is that no purse, no money, no nothing? It's just
it was all on ticket sales. Okay. So providing I can get a good audience in will depend how much money I can make and stuff like that. So that's when supporters supported me.
By this time, Lauren, you've already built quite a following, haven't you? Local people, they supporting you, local businesses supporting you. And when you get local business, you get people. So like they invite 3 or 4 of their office buddies and they'll come and watch you fight. So that's, I suppose, in return, how you build your audience.
You do.
You're also a local legend. Everyone knows you, that I've spoken to recently. When I knew I was getting you on, I've done a little bit of digging. And I think it makes it even harder, doesn't it? You know, when you've got so much going on for you. You've got these people coming to support you. You've got, you know.
It's one of those as well. Like, obviously, I'd won the European, and then I'm like, right, that's gone now. And then like, well, why is it gone? And then you have to explain it all, and I'm like, but this is just the way that boxing works. You've got to manoeuvre correctly in the right way. But they've been used to that big title fight. Honestly, your call, it's one of my best moments of my life. Like, standing on that stage after my back surgery, raising 20 grand, I'm boxing first time at York Hall, which is iconic, you know, and it's for a European title, honestly. And then everyone screaming me. I was like, wow, I've never known anything like it. So they're used to that moment. Then all of a sudden, it's like, well, you've got to have a tick-over year. And then they're like, well, who are you fighting? And I said, well, I'm fighting this girl. Like, she's not all that, you know. But you all equally need their support, because if they don't support you, I can't box. You know, it's like, I need your tickets. I need the ticket sales. It's a business at the end of the day. Pro boxing is a business. So I am so grateful for every single person that is attached to me and that buys a ticket every time. Because without them, again, that's another thing. I know it sounds crazy, but without them, it doesn't happen. Because I'm not going to be raising that money. Because I think I have to do about £3,500 worth of tickets just to box.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
That's without earning a penny. So that's a lot of tickets you got to sell. So you know, it's not easy, and
you got that pressure on top of just trying to train.
On top of training, and it's a lot, you know. So I had 2 tick-over fights in that year. The first tick-over fight, she was 10 pounds heavier than me. I'm like, I'm a super fly. Like, what's going on? She's coming at like super feather or whatever she was. So I'm like, geez, I'm up against it again, another one.
Did you have to go up weight or down?
No, I stayed my same weight. I struggle to put weight on, because I always sit around 54 kilo, like walk around weight. I box at 52. So this girl was coming in at, 59, 60 kilo more? Especially if she'd rehydrated as well, it's even more. So I'm thinking, oh, wow. In fact, actually, it never nearly happened, because the Boxing Board of Control come over to us and like, there's a massive weight difference. I don't think that this fight can go ahead. Let me have a word with a few people. I'm thinking, I've got 100 people in York Hall, and you're going to tell me that I can't fight? Like, I said, please, like, I'm a European champion. Like, please let me box. Even though she's got a lot of weight on me, I should technically be a lot better. And you're weighing it up, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So that was the first fight. The second fight happened again. The girl on paper, not great, but she was actually a very, very good amateur, which was crazy, but really not great pro career. So I got in with her. She was 8 pounds heavier. But if you want to look at things, she'd equally been in with some very, very good girls, big names that have gone on to win European titles and other intercontinental type titles. And I was the only person to stop her the quickest. So she'd been stopped before, but in the 6th round, I'd stopped her in the 3rd. and she was a heavier girl than me. So if you look at all the dynamics of it, I'm like, yeah, technically I am the better boxer than her, but equally no one else of my class has ever done that quickly. So I was like, that's a good win. Yeah. That's good. I'm happy with that. That's a kind of there's a bit of a statement, you know. So
tick over, but that's still a big.
It's still a big thing. It's still a big thing. And when you look at what she'd done as an amateur, she'd won various titles. I think she even done better than me, to be quite fair. And I've gone and done that to her, and I think that just kind of represents who I am as a fighter as well, and what I'm capable of. So I was very proud of that.
So having them 2 tick-over fights in 2024, you obviously want the fight with Emma.
Of course, yeah. It was the next thing. It needed to happen.
It had to happen. That is by far the biggest point of your career, isn't it? The fight with Emma. That's being set up. So my question to you did you have every confidence of that you're going to go in there and do that, or do you have a lot of anxiety because not only is it televised, it's for a British, what title
British and Commonwealth,
British and Commonwealth title. So there was a lot of pressure there, and it's live on TV and blah blah blah. What channel was it on?
It was on DAZN.
I only got you to say that, so I can't pronounce it. So it's a big platform.
It's huge.
You
I watch
worry about
boxing.
your false teeth falling
No. You put me right off. I watch boxing on that channel, so I know it's a big platform. It cost me a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. They have put the prices up. Fuming. That's not good. And what they do is they've got the membership, which is like £120 for the, and then they do loads of pay-per-view. So you pay extra anyway.
Yeah.
It's not on. It's not on. Clever, but not on. No. That's what I say.
So you obviously had this lined up. You set this fight up. You wanted it for ages. Did you have to raise any money for that? Or
no, luckily I didn't.
Did you get any extra sponsors for it or anything like that?
So this was a good thing because a promoter came on board with us, which is what I've always wanted along, right? So when you box, you get paid a purse, and normally that promoter will pay for that purse. They'll cover all the funds of it. They'll sort all the flights out if the boxer's coming from abroad or where. All the logistics behind the scenes is sorted out by that promoter, which is obviously what I had to do for the European. So it was nice to have this promoter, which is GBM. They're up and coming, but they're actually making their mark like heavily. Like you've got some really good fights happening on their platform now, and they haven't took over in terms of Matchroom, Queensberry and that sort of thing, or the Saudi level, but they're very much coming through, and it's a very good platform to be on. So to know that they were gonna host our fight was great, and they do things properly, like the press conference, all the public weigh-ins and stuff like that, all the face-offs. Like they took us all around London. They had me outside Tower Bridge having the face-offs. You feel like the real deal. It was.
I suppose it takes a lot of pressure off of you from when you're training and getting ready for that fight. You don't have to worry about all of that.
They took control of that, and they would do they'd get all the footage, they'd put all the reels together on the Instagram and stuff like that. And from that side of things, it was absolutely fantastic, and it was very, very good to be a part of it. And again, I was like, oh, I'm worthy. Like I've been made mandatory for the British and the Commonwealth, and you know, I deserve to be here. Like this is really good, but it did equally come with a lot of pressures. Again, I kind of felt like, oh my God, like again, back to the whole school thing.
You wanted to sit back, didn't you?
Yeah.
You just wanted to sit back and
exactly. But
in.
There was so much that went with it that I didn't realise it was going to affect me the way that it did until actually it all started coming together at the end. So fight week. So all prior up to fight week was, to be fair, amazing. Like I'd had the best camp. I was in fantastic shape. I was super, super fit, amazing, and I felt super confident going into this. I'd picked sparring partners that were, you know, long and rangy, like Emma, and that I was, you know, performing very, very well in those sparring situations. I'd come home, and in fact, I'd go as far as saying I didn't even have a bad spar that camp. It was fantastic, and I was so happy with everything. So going into it, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Like this is great. I can't do any more than I'm already doing. But it makes you realise how much of your mindset plays a role in certain things. And to be quite honest with you, I will never take it away from Emma. She won that fight, hands down, she won the fight. But you didn't have the Lauren at 100%. You know, I thought I was 100%, but I weren't 100%. And you can tell even in my whole body language, you know, even my ring walk, you know, my ring walk is really good.
I want to talk on that.
We're going to talk about it.
I'm going to end on that, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do want to talk about that ring walk.
So my ring walks normally, I love them. Yeah, I absolutely love them. I get out there and I soak up that moment as much as I can. And this time round, I had the best walkout song. I loved it. But when you watch the video back, some people might not realise, but I look at it and go, that's not me. And it's actually really sad to see that I look a little bit lifeless. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking at it, I'm like, nah. Normally I'm on the stage and I kick my leg out to the crowd. I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go. And in this instance, it really wasn't like that. And I just feel like I'd put a lot of pressure on myself really quickly in that fight week. I knew I'd have to go for a press conference. I knew I was going to be centre stage with a microphone, with whole loads of cameras, with famous people sitting there, you know, like Peter Fury's, what's his name? Huey Fury's dad, Peter Fury, and all of that. They're sitting there, and I'm like...
Big characters.
Big characters, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, little Loz from Letchworth is up here, and everyone's got eyes on me. And
you're centre stage.
And I'm centre stage. I don't even like talking. Remember, I'm this person that couldn't even talk to a camera. And now I'm on this big stage. And to be honest, it was very daunting. And I don't think I realised how much of an effect it was having on me. And I was keeping this very brave face. You would never know really looking at it. You think, yeah, Loz has got her shit together. This is good. But deep down, I'm like, I've never been so nervous. So nervous. And I think as well, like Emma is a great boxer, like she's really good. I think you can look at her and almost underestimate her. I never underestimated her, but you could in terms of some of her skills. I wouldn't say it was like majorly good. She's just very, very good at the basics. That's how
everything.
She's just good at everything. She's very good at that. But she wasn't like, you wouldn't see her ducking and rolling and pivoting and creating angles like some fighters. So you could underestimate her, but she'd equally previously been in a fight with another boxer in our category called Shannon Ryan, and she had basically put her on her ass. And you kind of then start going, okay, you've done that to Shannon, but Shannon is like the big character, like she's the big one. That's the one that everyone's investing their money in. She's going places. She's the one, you know. But Emma had done this. So maybe there was a little bit of that in my head. I was always thinking, you ain't knocking me out. And she never did that to me. You never do that. But there was part of me that's thinking, oh my God, if you can do that to Shannon, like, is there, like, how good are you? Maybe I was questioning, actually, how good are you? And, you know, again, I'm not taking it away from her. She was good on the night. She outboxed me. She's rangy, let's just put that out there. I mean, at the end we spoke, you know, had a conversation. She's a lovely person. And I said, mate, you've got some mad range on you. And she literally put her fist on my forehead and I put mine out. And honestly, there's about a gap about that much. Yeah. So, you know, trying to maneuver around someone who's that long and rangy, this is quite difficult as well.
They can use that range.
Exactly, and she used it very well. And I just think in sparring, I'd been getting over that. But my mindset clearly wasn't there. And I genuinely think that I got in that ring at about 70%, but which makes me now sitting here is quite sad because I just think I am capable of so much more than that.
When you leave a little bit out,
it's just gutting. And to be fair, I couldn't change it. Like I am who I am. Like, you know, my mind can go off in strange places, and you know, doubt creeps in, and you start questioning things. And you know, it's all well and good for someone to go, "Well, Lauren, you're so good at what you do. You know, you're going to do this," and it's like, yeah, I can do it, can't I? Like, I can't. And you start questioning it, and it was a tough place to be in on that night, and a big atmosphere. You got the TV, the DAZN, it's massive, big names in there. You know, all your people there, 2 titles on the line, undefeated champion. You know, and there was a lot on the line, and I think it just got to me. Yeah. But I'm not ashamed of it. Like I look it back, and I just think, I thought I ain't watching that again. I'm not watching that again. I can't bring myself to watch it. And then going back to the ring walk, my mum was like, oh, we should watch the ring walk. Apparently, like, they call out all, like, the family's names, and it was a really good, you know, advert for you, Loz. And I was like, okay, right, put it on then. Let's just watch the walkout. I said, we're not watching round 1, we're just going to watch that. So we watched the walkout, and then it got to round 1, it started. My mum was like, do you want to just watch round 1? You've done really well in round 1, like, really good. So I watched round 1 then, and then it escalated. And then in the end, I've watched the whole damn fight. And to be fair, looking back at it, I'm like, it weren't even that bad. I think you build things up in your head. Oh my God, I've made myself look awful. I'm on TV. Everyone thinks I'm shit. You know, where am I going to go from that? I'm embarrassed with myself. You wasn't doing what you should have been doing. But I watched it back and I was like, considering you weren't yourself, you still held your own. She didn't put you down. You know, you put in a good of account of yourself and you belong there. And that has stuck with me now. I know that I belong on that big stage and that I shouldn't be embarrassed about anything. And it just, on the night, it wasn't my night. And that's sometimes how it goes.
Like you say, sometimes things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes things align, and it just probably didn't align.
It didn't align that night.
No.
But I think, again, it's all experience. This won't happen to me again.
Yeah.
I don't think it will happen to you again because I'll be there.
Did you change your camp as such? Because you said you
No.
had a good camp.
I had a great camp.
Was it environments within that camp that you maybe would change from outside training? Do you know?
To be honest, no. Like everything about the camp, I spoke to my coach about it. He was like, Lauren, honestly, if we did that again, I wouldn't even change the camp. Like everything was in place, everything was fantastic, so good. I genuinely think it was the occasion that got to me, which was sad. But just touching on something else as well, if you think about things, right, I've kind of been behind the scenes a lot in terms of boxing. Like, I've never had big promoters on me. You know, there's some boxers, I won't say names, but, you know, they're boxing on massive worldwide platforms in their debut. You know, sometimes they've never even had an amateur career and they've been put there, probably because they can sell a ticket or they're a good, they've got a good personality or something like that, which I get from a business point of view. But what happens is when they're on those platforms, yes, it's massive, but they're in there boxing a bum. Boxing someone who they are guaranteed to beat. And that might happen for 6 fights. And then all of a sudden, then they'll get an opportunity, oh, you're going to fight for your first title. But guess what? They've had so much experience on that platform that it becomes the norm to them. Whereas me, I've been behind the scenes, boxing at York Hall, which that is where I did the English and the Commonwealth, but there was no TV, there's no pressure, there's no press conferences, there's no cameras, there's no nothing. And then it's like, okay, I'm kind of comfortable here. I'm all right. But as soon as you start adding all the extra things in, it becomes very much, oh, I feel like I'm drowning now a little bit, you know. So I feel like, the whole occasion was a little bit much, but I'm glad that I've done it. And considering the situation, I've overcome it. And I think going forward, it's only going to make me better. And that's what these experiences are for, right? To make you better.
Yeah, of course. And you will come back stronger and better.
100%.
And from anything that we've learned from this podcast today is that you're resilient. You rise off the canvas, not physically, but mentally. You know, whatever's in your way, you'll just push out the way and just crack on with it. But I just wanted to quickly touch on your brother's Mitchell. We've already discussed that. But he made that music for your ring walk. Was there any inspiration behind it? Are they your favourite songs, or do they mean anything?
So
the commentator on the TV as well even mentioned him, saying how good it was. And
he's fantastic, bless him. My brother, he went through a patch of wanting to be music producer, basically, and he's even done his own album and stuff, but he chose a genre of music that is very quite niche. And unfortunately, it never kicked off for him, which is a shame because he's so talented. He's a drummer as well, very, very musical. And I always said to him, I said, mate, if I get the chance to, I said, you have to be a part of my ring walks in terms of creating the music. I said, even if you one time, imagine we get an opportunity where I box for a world title. I said, I'll have you drumming. Do you know what I mean? I'll have you drumming me out, something cool, anything. My dad's guitar, he plays guitar, plays bass. Brother plays bass. They can do everything pretty much. They're so good. And I've always said, we'll get you to be a part of it somehow. So he's done all my ring walk music and merged them together and stuff. And I normally always have "Who's That Girl" by Eve. That is the main song. But I always change the beginning one. So I've had various different songs to start the walkout, but it always goes into then Michael Buffer, "Let's Get Ready to Rumble," and then it goes into "Who's That Girl," and the crowd just love it, and it gets going. And that's kind of, I hope that's kind of what I'm known for. Everybody hashtags me "Who's That Girl" because of the ring walk, which is great. In terms of inspiration to this last fight, it's actually my mum come up with it. It was Chesney Hawkes, "The One and Only," and I was like, really? And then I thought about it. I was like, actually, that's really good. If we just get the first bit, not the whole lot of the song, just that "I am the one and only," and then merge it in. I was like, that's a really good beginning thing, you know. And then, so she actually come up with that one. But the one previously was, you know that song "Blue," and it's "I'm good and I'm feeling all right." I'm good and I'm feeling all right. That one. that was after the back surgery. So I was like, that's very good. Also, I like that song, but I thought that works quite nice, you know. And so there's never really, normally it's what I like the sound of, what I think is going to create an atmosphere. Because again, the ring walk, I like to lap it up, you know. So going back to the last fight, when you watch me, you can tell I'm a little bit lifeless, and it's a shame because that was a really good ring walk, really good one, you know.
This is now.
This is now.
What is next? We're going to finish up on what is next for Lauren Parker. What are your plans? What are your goals? Tell us here and now. Right
now, at this moment in time, I'm actually not sure. Again, because boxing is so crazy. You can be on a massive high and then all of a sudden you're on a massive low. I do actually have some things going on at the moment with me right now that I'm not prepared to talk about, but will mean that I can't box until probably the second half of this year. So that's the aim. So I don't know whether, again, it'll be a tick-over fight. I don't know. I don't think that I'll get a rematch with Emma again. I don't think so. Although I'd love to try and rectify that because in my mind it don't sit well with me, obviously. Yeah. But I don't think it will happen again, which is a shame. But she might go on for, say, like a world title, which she's worthy of doing. You know, she's in a good position now to go on for a world title. So that could, whether it will or not, but in my mind it makes sense that she would probably vacate those two belts.
For you,
yeah. Because if you're going to focus on a world title, you don't want to be focused on I've got to defend them belts. So a lot of time people go, you're never going to take that away from you. No, you're always going to have them belts. So she could, I don't know, vacate those, which would then leave them open. So then maybe I'd get a shot at those again. I mean, I'm very much up there in our division. And just because I've lost once doesn't define me at all, you know. No. So we'll see, but yeah, I think I'm just kind of focusing on me for the time being until the second half of the year, and then I'm gonna evaluate what's next for me. I think that's the best way of saying it.
Wicked.
Yeah. But I want to go for world titles. That's the aim. And if I don't ever do that, then I'll feel like I've not accomplished. So I need to see what path we take next and what happens for me to make sure that I get there.
Come on our podcast again.
Yeah, and I come on podcast again. Should have bought the belts today.
Yeah,
should have done, shouldn't I? Could have hung them there, look. Oh, that's no good.
I like to say, when you win it next time, we can do
We could do that. There you go.
We could do it with a world champion one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Lauren, thank you very much for coming
You're welcome.
on.
Just one quick thing.
Yes.
We always finish on our podcast of giving people a message.
Okay.
Anyone that's struggling or anyone that doesn't feel great at the moment or anyone doesn't see a future, can you look into that camera and tell them, give them a bit of advice how to see through the next day? How would you, if you were struggling, get yourself through the next day? Just give them something like that you would use to try and inspire them.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I think everybody in life, whether they look like they're okay or not, they're probably not. They've probably got stuff going on, and we are all the same. We're all human. We all feel the same emotions, maybe some more than others, but I think every day is a new day and a chance to restart. And I think a big thing is actually talking to people. I think if you bottle things up, that is actually the crux of the problem, because everything starts getting very, very heavy within yourself. So I think if you can just share that problem with someone, you don't have to go into detail, just be like, do you know what, I'm having a bad day today, it's not good, or I'm feeling this way. You know, they might even be able to say, do you know what, same as me, like, let's have a coffee, let's talk about it. And you'll leave that coffee shop feeling like a massive weight has been lifted. So I think, talk about it. Everybody in life is the same, and moments pass, you know. There's been times where I've felt real down in the dumps. I've questioned things and I just think, what's the point? Or, oh, there's more to life than this, or whatever it may be, whatever you're going through. But I just think, bad times pass and there's always good times, and after a low comes a high, whatever that may be, even if it's something small, but it will make you feel better. So just see things through. And I think, in time, things will get better. But, always reach out for help and always talk. I think that's key.
Rise above in turbulent times. Adrian, anything else?
No, that was it. Brilliant.
Lauren, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I'm due to come back here sometime to discuss some things here with the owner of Stevenage Gym.
Yep.
So I look forward to coming back. But
Amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. Something happened to the TikTok about
I did
20
look at that. I
minutes
thought,
ago.
oh no.
I don't know how people do this.
We're normally a bit fitter than me and you, to be fair.
This is going to
Make sure I cut that out.
press